Welcome to the Real Estate Virgins podcast, where we are here to elevate your business, take your business to the next level. We're not just agents talking the talk, we're agents walking the walk. And we are so blessed to have so many agents listening, taking action. And it's always awesome to hear and see messages that something worked for them. And my name's John Michael Perez. You can find me on Instagram at John Michael Perez. And we've got Jordan Brown.
What's up, everybody? At Jordan Sells ATX on Instagram. Happy to connect with you guys. Like John said, we're here to elevate your business, baby. It is an interesting year. There's been a lot of major changes. And if you're a returning listener, first of all, thank you so much for coming back and for supporting the podcast. If you're a new listener, we do everything from tactical agent tips and tricks. We interview top producers from all across the nation, across varying brokerages. We just want to see everybody win. So if that sounds like something you're into, you are in the right spot.
So we've got some big news today. And if you're an agent, you probably know this, but the Fed just cut their rates or announced that they're going to be cutting rates. And we'll be talking about that, as well as, there's a pretty big famous, we can just go ahead and talk about that.
Let's do it.
Michael Jordan finally got his house under contract after how long? Several years. I think it's like 14 years on the market, something like that.
It says, after more than 12 years, Michael Jordan's home in Highland Park is now under contract.
Imagine having a listing on the market for 12 years.
I mean, some of us are worried about getting 6-month contracts signed. Imagine trying to convince someone to stay with you for 14 years. Yeah. I would be interested to know. I didn't look this up. I wonder if the same agent had it listed the entire time.
That's a great question.
Or if they changed agents. I feel like 14 years, I would have been like, hey, you've had a decade. Ditch that zero and get with the hero. Let me sell this thing for you.
56,000 square foot property equipped with every conceivable luxury amenity is a physical monument to his tireless dedication and hard work. Custom designed property with a regulation size basketball gym. I would love to have a property like that.
Yeah, that'd be dope. I'm surprised he doesn't have more basketball courts. But I guess you only need one. Like if you're in your private residence, you don't need more than one of whatever you're doing. So
yeah,
dumb question. I guess I just figured the iconic Michael Jordan, the basketball phenom, would maybe have a little more there. The guest house also has a mini court. The bathroom has buckets on the back of the doors or something.
Yeah. But with 20% down, don't look at your notes.
Okay.
Do you know how much it is per month for a mortgage?
Per month? Oh, I haven't even sniffed this kind of listing, so no, I don't know what it is.
Can you guess? Just guess.
Let's see.
And don't look
with 20% down.
Yeah.
So 20% down,
2.8 million.
Yeah, we're still over 10 million for a loan with. I'm assuming you've got amazing credit to afford this house. So let's go with. I'm gonna say 100,000 per month.
That's not bad. That's pretty close. 112,000 per month.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I'm either way over or way under. So
yeah.
I'm actually kind of shocked that it was 100K.
Yeah.
I just remember hearing the property tax, the monthly bills for some of these luxury places in Austin, and being so shocked. I was like, oh my gosh. Sure, people want really nice, properties and, lakefront and $6 million houses. But then when you have like 30,000 per month in taxes, wow.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this one has pretty much $31,000 in property taxes every single month.
That's insane.
So that might be why it took so long to find a buyer.
Give me a few years and maybe we can look at that property again.
But
for now, it's a little unattainable.
If you guys are curious, the address is 2700 Point Lane in Highland Park, Illinois. So
in Illinois?
Yeah.
Chicago.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Chicago Bulls. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why. I just thought that he would retire somewhere like on the coast. Like so many, a bunch of NHL people, they end up retiring in cities like San Jose or Los Angeles or.
No, this is the house where he lived in when all of the cool stuff was going on with all the championships.
That's cool.
And stuff. Yeah,
that's cool. So he stuck around.
Yeah. And the funny thing is I've had clients call me after 2 weeks being like, hey, what's going on? You know?
Yeah, no kidding. I can't imagine. He's got a lot of patience. He must have a ton of equity in that house to sit on it for 14 years. That's insane.
And I think it started around the 20 million mark, right? And so they adjusted price over 12 years, and now it's at 14.8, but we don't know what it went under contract for.
Well, hey, Mike, listen, if you're listening, if you want to get sold quicker than 14 years, holler at me next time. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about Fed cutting the rates.
Okay.
Because I was excited to talk about this because I think there's a lot of confusion. I think there's misinformation.
Okay.
And there needs to be clarity across the real estate industry. Unfortunately, I think a lot of realtors, and I'm not saying they prey on it, I think they just don't know any better. And so when they put information out, it's an uneducated public that doesn't call them out on, hey, this is not the correct information. So people, like, if you are a realtor listening, Fed rates being cut does not mean that mortgage rates are being cut. So this 50 basis points that they just approved on September 18th is not, I saw a handful of realtors instantly promoting it and being like, this means that, mortgage rates are lower today than they were before. In fact,
that's false. Yeah.
In fact, mortgage rates on September 18th went up after the news slightly, but they still went up. So you have to get out of this habit of thinking that the Fed rate is the same thing as mortgage rates, because the Fed does
not. However, it does follow it.
Right, correct. They influence it through bonds,
Yes,
and the yields from bonds. But to say, like, so this is the main thing that I saw that I'm hoping that the listeners aren't doing, where they heard this and they go, mortgage rates got cut by 0.5%.
Yeah,
that's incorrect.
Incorrect.
The Federal Reserve does not control mortgage rates. So you can't say that the Fed rate being cut is a mortgage rate being cut. It's not the same thing, but you were correct. The mortgage rates follow a trend that the Fed rate cuts or increases do.
Yeah.
So you got to just watch yourself, watch your messaging.
Say it correctly, right? I mean, in a way, you are giving out information that is in the right direction, but it is not the most
It's not totally accurate.
It's not totally accurate.
And you have to understand that when you say, my point being the 50 basis point cut that happened was already figured into mortgage rates. So that's why when it increased a little bit, just as one of our lender partners, I'm actually so thankful because and I'm not saying that I knew this when I first started or anything. I literally didn't know the details of this until like 2 or 3 weeks ago when I met up with a lender. Shout out Supreme Lending here in Austin. Super educational. They did a great job educating our agents. And they explained, that's why when this happened, I was prepared for it. I knew what was going to happen. He even said, don't be surprised if you see rates uptick a little bit. And so that way it happened. I'll tell you, the reason this is important, immediately when they announced it, one of my listings messaged me. He sent me the article saying Fed cuts rates, and he said, boom. And I'm like, this doesn't do anything immediately. Yeah, these rate cuts are already built in. They're built into the rates right now.
Yeah. I had a lender call me actually just before recording, and she said, hey, although Fed rates, they did announce that, I don't think it's still going to be a couple of weeks until we start seeing any change in the mortgage world. And I was like, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, just to give you an idea for those who are listening and wondering what this means, another really big takeaway that I took from that meeting with Supreme Lending was if you're expecting mortgage rates to drop rapidly, that's really bad. That's actually really bad signs in your economy. That means unemployment is probably getting out of control. That means that something like there's a lot involved, and that's way over my head.
Well, I mean, when COVID happened, that's when rates were cut correct, and it was really bad.
Yeah, things were not great. Yeah. So things have to get really bad for rates to drop that drastically, that quickly. Yeah. So
but the dichotomy of it is like, yes, if things are bad, it's good for real estate agents.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, right? So
It's like,
I would say if you're on the if you're wondering what's going to happen, I trust what these guys said. They're super educated. They've been doing it for over 20 years. They've seen markets come and go, lots of different scenarios, and their optimistic outlook is that next year, about this time, maybe next summer of 2025, rates will maybe be mid fives. So that's good.
I think that's good.
So mid fives, I think, is a nice, healthy spot. That means that the economy isn't tanking, and that you have to do an overcorrection to make things affordable for people who are getting unemployed or whatever the case may be. I mean, they've got everything from like treasury bonds. Like, there's so much stuff involved that is not just great news for rates going down. There's so much involved with it. Lots of moving parts.
Yeah. And well, I believe it is a good thing for sure, for agents at least. You know, I know that they were still taking a look at jobs and saying, that if there's less jobs, am I saying it right?
I don't know what you're saying.
If there's less jobs, it's not good, right? Wait, if there's more jobs, sorry, I'm confused in my head. If there's more more jobless people.
Jobs. Unemployment.
Yeah.
More unemployment is better
Yes.
actually for interest rates. Like, bad stuff is good for interest rates going down.
Yeah.
Because if the market is healthy and there's a healthy amount of spending, there's no need to drop because people are spending at a good rate.
Yeah.
So whenever you have people holding back, they basically stimulate the economy by dropping rates so that things are more affordable. Your dollar goes further, and you don't need to do that if everyone's spending in a healthy manner.
Well, the inflation that they announced has dropped significantly. I think it was at 7 or 9%, and now it's at 2.5%.
I mean, that's great.
And the reason why they lowered interest rates, if I'm not mistaken, is because inflation has gone down so much.
Because it's not as bad as they were anticipating. Yes. I think if you ask the average middle class American, they're probably going, yeah, inflation down, sure. Like, tell that to my $300 basic grocery run that I just did. But
is that a real thing?
What?
That you just had a $300 grocery run?
Oh, I feel like every time I go to the grocery store, it's at least $250. Like,
it's crazy,
man. And we're on this. Katie and I are trying to get on like a little bit healthier kick where we're buying organic stuff. We're buying stuff made with better, less ingredients, so things that are a little more wholesome as opposed to being, ketchup that has 40 ingredients in it. Like, that's crazy. So we're trying to do that, and I'm noticing. I mean, this has always been this way. It's not a shock, but they're so much more expensive.
Oh yeah, healthy is expensive.
Eating healthy is the most expensive thing that you can do. It's wild.
We need to buy some land and just grow our own stuff.
I know, our chickens and cows and all that. Yeah, but eventually, one day.
If you don't mind me asking, well, and we can talk about this more in a little bit, but is your personal business up, down, stagnant? What does that look like? And you can be honest.
My business is not where I thought it would be this year.
Really?
Yeah. I'm still averaging about what I did last year.
Okay.
I'm on track to finish where I did last year. But I don't like, me personally, I look at it as, okay, if I'm in year blank, I should be doing last year plus this.
Plus 10,
so any stagnation or like plateau, I look at as not good. Yeah. Because I always want to be doing more. Now, granted, a lot. I think not 0%. Well, there's a few things. I don't think it's 0%. Also, the fact that I've also taken way more on of a support role for our team.
Correct.
That requires me to be present for them. I'm doing meetings with them. I'm doing Zooms with them. I'm helping them through contracts. So like, I'm trying to help build the team up, which takes away time from building my own business. I'm happy to do it. Yeah. And I'm thankful that we're in a spot where I get compensated a little bit for that as well. Yeah. And we would do that no matter where we were. We did that wherever we went. And the difference is now that we get compensated when they're successful. So it's an investment now to help build people up to get their business sustaining. So then we're all winning.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm down a little bit. Now I've talked about it in previous episodes where if the 5 deals that I've had fall apart this year would have happened, might be a different conversation. I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm actually having a pretty good year.
Yeah.
You know, I'm actually up from last year, but right now I'm trending to finish about what I did last year.
Nice.
And last podcast, we actually had a stat that transactions are down 40% year over year. So when I hear that,
And your stat,
and I'm plateauing about what I did last year, I actually feel pretty good about that.
right?
So in black and white, sure, am I not hitting the goal that I wanted to? Sure, there's still a lot of year left too. So I'm hoping that post-election, things are going to kick off. I've got some things in the works right now. I've just got a new buyer under a buyer rep agreement. So some good momentum. It's just not where I want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think both you and I are in a building phase this year too, right? So although we're pretty much in this, both very similar, I'm very similar to last year. However, you and I are building something on the side, and that's like a long-term growth type thing, right? So like, and that's going to hopefully double, triple every year, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Because there is an aspect to it where if you would have asked me how much passive income did I make last year, I'm doing way better there than I was last year.
yeah.
So give and take. My personal production, not where I want it to be, but I'm giving my focus to other things that are eventually going to turn into long-term wealth and passive income, which is great.
Also, I feel like I'm less stressed out this year. If that makes any sense. Like I'm doing it from transactions. So like I've been able to leverage more this year as compared to last year. And so it was like I was working harder for the same result. And this year I'm working less, but for the same result.
Yeah, I 100%. I feel that too. I also want you brought up like I had a kid. He turns 10 months tomorrow. Can't believe it. I've had a really great time really enjoying this phase of his life where, hey, you know what? If I knocked out my content for the day and I did all the tasks that I needed to do and it didn't result in a sale, I'm going to go hang out with Landon. We're going to go we're going to go play in the ball pit.
Yep.
Instead of me mulling it over and being like, dang, why am I not selling anything? I'm like, I'm going to go hang out with my kid. This is amazing. Like I'm having a good time. So definitely different feeling this year than last year.
Yeah. I mean, I'm doing just slightly better than I did last year, but I'm spending more time with my family. And that to me is actually even better than
if you can copy and paste and repeat that year over year, that's the goal.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's the whole reason why I'm not waiting tables anymore, because I wanted more time with my family, you know,
Yeah.
and I wanted more time with and being able to do that, you know. So
I think this year has really challenged a lot of people.
It has.
I think it's pushing people to make decisions about real estate. There's probably people listening right now who you're having the best year of your career. There's people who are about, maybe where I'm at, where you're having the same as last year. And then there's people who are going, damn, this is hard. And I don't know if I can continue to do this.
yeah, and if you're in that position, it's one of a few reasons. One, you're not being educated in the right way. You're probably in an environment that is teaching you things that worked for them 20, 30 years ago. And you're learning traditional tactics that are not working now. And so you need to surround yourself with people that are teaching you modern tactics and modern strategies. And you don't blame the flower for not growing. You blame the soil that it's around.
Yep. And I look at the groundwork that I'm still doing. Some things I'm really proud of that I've done this year. I'm more consistent now than I have been with my YouTube channel.
Yep.
I've 3x'd my audience organically with no promotion since I believe April. Yeah. So in a span of four or 5 months, I've 3x'd my audience, a little over 3.5x'd. So that's a win. And I'm also being really consistent with it. The way I look at it is I'm building digital market share. We talk about it all the time.
Yep.
Where there's the people who are backing off from real estate generating activities. I'm going to fill that void, hopefully, for them. There's people right now who aren't doing any more relocating to Austin material. because it's not the hot topic anymore. My video that just went live today is 10 things you should know before moving to Texas. So the void that's happening, I'm still going to fill it because I feel like people will see the consistency. They're going to see that I continue doing the educational pieces when everyone else was backing off.
Yeah. And that consistency over a long period of time while other people are backing off, you're going to just gobble up market share.
Hopefully. That's the goal. I mean, that's the goal with anything that we do, is to take market share. And it makes it a little bit easier when there's people dropping out. I think people dropping... I will say, I met with an agent last week who is getting out of real estate, but on their terms. They don't need it. They were successful in real estate and found success. And it didn't fulfill them. And they're in a position where within their relationship with their spouse that they don't have to make that money anymore. And what's great about that is they're now going to be a referral partner. So there's still opportunity even within that. So it's not like everyone who's getting out, it's because of failure. I think it's okay to walk out on your terms as long as you can make peace with it.
100%.
And like John said, if that's not you, look at the soil around you. Are you being built up? How consistent is your broker with providing trainings and opportunities to connect with others who are doing well and build you up?
How easy is it to be accessible to those people that will be able to support you?
Yeah.
And because that was my thing, man. I was 6 months into real estate 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, whatever. And I did not know what I was doing. And then 5 or 6 months in, I finally found a mentor that was willing to pour into me. And, you know, they say, what is it? The student will find the teacher when he's ready, you know? And I was finally ready.
Yeah.
And that mentor changed my life, dude. Literally, you know?
Yeah. Hey, speaking of, I met up with Andrea this week, who's a regular listener and now a partner of ours.
Shout out to Andrea.
And what was cool about it is I asked her, you know, what was she looking for in a mentor? Like, why? Because I got paired up with her. So why me? Why did we get paired up together?
Because I told her about you. I'm just kidding. No, she already knew about you, actually.
Well, I think it was cool because she said, I interviewed other places. And when I said, I want practical opportunities where I want to hear like what a buyer conversation sounds like. I want to go with you to watch how you do content. I want to learn from you. And so many of those people that she interviewed would be like, ugh, like, no, you got to have like 2 years experience before you start like shadowing me or something. And the fact that we offer that, I think, is probably what separated us. And I say probably, I know, because I talked to her. She said that was the difference, is that like you guys and your program and everything are so open with opportunity to learn. Yeah. So there are opportunities out there. I hate harping on it too much, but I can't downplay how important that is in your development as a realtor, because so many people hold their cards to their chest and whatever's successful for them, they don't want to share it with anyone because it breeds competition. And it's such a scarcity mindset that people play this real estate game with. And that's not the way we're doing it.
Suman, actually, good friend of mine. You may know him.
Friend of the podcast, only been on a handful of times and probably our best performing episode. Yeah, I've heard of him.
He this just reminds me of what you were talking about, but he shared this meme, and it was, never supporting someone but asking them for a resource is insane. And that happens to me so many times.
Yeah.
Where like, you've never supported me, but you continually ask me for help. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Like
then you break out the receipts.
Yeah.
I've helped you this. I helped you here, but now you're mad.
I know, right?
Come on.
And if you guys would like to support us, please share the episode.
Yeah. Hey, speaking real quick plug, and then we'll get into our last topic of the episode. If you're learning anything, free, easy way to support the podcast is wherever you're listening, there's probably a rating system. Give us that 5-star review. And if you know another agent who needs to hear this kind of encouragement, this kind of discussion, and we need to get a interview set up here soon. It's been a while since we've done another agent interview. Promise we'll get on that. because we want you to hear from people who are killing it from all over.
Yeah.
But if that's something that's interested to someone that you know or another realtor, maybe they're new or they're just looking to elevate their business, feel free to hit the share button, send it over, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. We appreciate you guys so much.
Well, let's get into the next topic. And now this one, we're going to try to be as non-biased as possible.
Yeah.
Because elections are happening in a few months. And we wanted to take a look at and do some research, non-biased research. We try to take opinions out too, because it's really hard.
It's hard when we're researching these things, and it's probably going to come out. You may feel some type of way about the way that we have it in here. We're just sourcing the articles.
Yes.
And so it's hard to find unbiased descriptions of what these things are, depending on what way the site leans. Mm-hmm. So please, this isn't like our opinions or something. We're just trying to find the information, put it in front of you so that you can make an opinion about it for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we're going to do is, and we didn't even tell them yet what we're doing. So what we're going to do is we have researched the real estate opinions and the housing opinions of both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris.
Yeah. What are they going to do, and how do they anticipate it's going to affect real estate?
Yes.
What plans are they going to put in place? What have they already done? Little things like that.
Yeah. And maybe we'll have some discussions on what we think, how that will affect us with clients, how that will affect both people are very buyer rewarding, right? Like both want to increase inventory. And
yeah, most of the plans are to help buyers. It's not necessarily to help sellers, which I think is important. I think there's a lot of sellers who are thinking if one candidate over the other, whichever way you're hoping for, is going to be better for your resale value. Well, if you hear what we have to say, it sounds like they want to bring your resale value down to make it more affordable for everybody.
Yeah, that is one thing that when we were doing the research, I'm like, man, all of this is both sides are for increasing inventory, right? Mm-hmm. And based off of where we're from, we're located in Austin, and
we've seen what increased inventory does, and it tanks values. Yeah. I will tell you that.
And if you're in other states, you may have not seen that yet, but we have, and there's a big difference.
For sure. There was absolutely a difference when there were 1,500 homes for sale versus the 14,000 plus that are for sale right now. Very different environments.
Massive difference. Okay,
and Austin has seen both of them. So first we're going to talk about Trump and what his plans are, and we're going to cite some of the sources here at the very end. So if you want to look them up, again, I'm not saying that we support either one of them. It just felt like these were the articles that actually had substance behind it, where there was what are the actual plans, mm-hmm. and were there actual quotes from them versus just saying this is what I think they're doing. Yeah. It was more like from the horse's mouth. Yeah. So for Trump believes in deporting immigrants, and that would free up more housing supply. He has spoken out against low-income housing, saying it brings down property values. Trump is not a fan of public housing programs, according to Seamus Roller at the National Housing Law Project. Trump wants more federal land to be opened up for housing. Large-scale goal is to bring down interest rates, which are controlled by the Federal Reserve. And then you had pulled this quote about the permitting and like how he's going to bring costs down. Do you want to break that one down?
Yeah. He wants to bring down the amount of permitting. So he says, you're talking about cutting your permits down in half. Trump said in a Bloomberg interview in July, your permits, your permitting process, your zoning, and if I went through years of zoning is a killer.
I like that this is in Trump's, the way that he talks. It's so funny.
But we'll be doing that, and we'll be bringing the price of housing down. And he's talking about, according to lessening the amount of permitting. And according to research from the National Association of Home Builders, government regulations account for over 40% of apartment development costs.
That's pretty crazy. That's a pretty wild stat. 40% of that of your apartment building costs is permitting. That's crazy. It's not the materials. It's not the layer. That's all the other 60%. But 40% just for getting the city or whoever to approve this stuff, that's crazy.
So let's think about that. If 40% of costs, that's a lot, is
your permits, your permitting process, that your zoning. And if I went through years of zoning's like, it's a killer. Terrible Trump impression.
But basically, I mean, if they were to cut that down, then hopefully, assumably, wouldn't the price of renting go down?
You would think. I always wondered, like, I think there's just like an aspect of corporate greed where these companies involved, like, let's just say you slash that 40% to 20%, are they really going to pass that 20% savings on to the end user? Probably not.
Maybe a little, but not much.
I feel like most companies, they want to see just how much they can squeeze out of people. So I like the idea. I like anything that's going to lower costs for people and help the barrier to entry into home ownership, I think is a positive move. I just don't know that the permitting aspect specifically for the apartment buildings is necessarily going to affect residential real estate.
There was another quote in this article. The deregulation of streamlining the process for private developers will help lower the cost of building new homes, which will expand supply, said Wayne Weingarten, the economist with Pacific Research Institute. The expanded supply will help improve affordability.
So again, decreasing prices, but through decreasing costs of permitting, deregulating, all that good stuff. So that's one approach. How did you feel about the first part that says Trump believes that deporting immigrants would free up more housing supply?
I don't really have an opinion about that because I'm not seeing that.
I don't either. I don't know how based in fact that is. Like I don't know how, like what amount of immigrants are taking up housing supply. I've never ran into that.
I don't have any data to have an opinion on that.
Yeah,
I would be totally be. I could. Yeah, it would just be a.
Yeah, he has spoken out against low income housing, saying it brings down property values. So I wonder if he means like Section 8 housing, like housing vouchers, stuff like that.
I mean, I will say from the aspect of this isn't the same thing, but when a neighborhood has no HOA and there's cars on the lawns and there's no structure, and you can hear my son in the background, and there's no structure, and the value of that neighborhood goes down because there's not as much cleanliness,
uniformity. Yeah, you can have people with a hot pink house next to you and looking wild, their car's broken down out front. We experienced that. We flipped a house in a no HOA neighborhood, and the neighbor across from us had like a broken down car in their driveway, and we're like, dang, this is gonna it hurts the appeal of our house. Even though it's not our house, it just shows that like no HOA deregulating can affect perceived property values.
Yeah, and I would assume that there's some middle ground when it comes to supporting people that need help, but at the same time having certain standards. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have standards, then unfortunately the value will go down. That's just a fact.
It's so funny how many clients have you helped who initially start off by saying, I don't want to be in an HOA. And then they end up buying within an HOA because you take them to a few options that's not an HOA. Mm-hmm. It just seems there's just a tad less care from the homeowners.
There's just less care. Yeah.
And I hate to use that general blanket terminology because I know there's exceptions out there where I'm sure there's some beautiful no HOA communities, but for the most part, from what we're seeing, where you have neighborhoods of homes stacked on top of each other, the suburban landscape that we're in here in the Austin outskirts, no HOA doesn't necessarily translate to a nicer house.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess from the aspect, and I don't have the data, so guys, please don't.
Yeah, take all this with a grain of salt. It's just discussion.
From the aspect of if people were coming into a neighborhood and there was no standard for the livelihood of that area, then I would assume maybe house value comes down, right? Maybe, I don't know. This is based on taking it with a grain of salt.
That's the whole hope of having an HOA. I mean, however you feel about them, they're there to try to enforce certain regulations to keep a uniformed look to the neighborhood. again, so that your neighbor doesn't paint their house hot pink and then the one next to you is a wild orange color. I've been through neighborhoods that have done that, and it's an eyesore. It makes you drive by and go, what the heck is going on in this neighborhood?
Well, I mean, it's like if somebody was staying at my house and they come into my house and I do things a certain way, right? And because it works for me, and if they were to do something different, like, hey man, can you go ahead and throw away your trash after you eat, please? And then they never do that, or it's like, hey man, this is how we do things at our house, right?
Yeah.
Like we have a certain standard that I uphold at my house.
And the difference is the HOA goes, hey, take that trash and take it out.
Yep.
Versus, you know it, all good. You can keep it there.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about his opponent, Kamala.
Okay.
Kamala Harris says that she's going to call for construction of 3 million new housing units in the next 4 years. That's a lot. That's a lot of construction. She outlines actions for creating a fairer rental market and proposes a $25,000 down payment support for first-time homeowners.
What are your thoughts on that? Like, will that increase or lower prices? And do you think that the $25,000, if I'm not mistaken, that's a tax incentive, correct? Is that a tax credit?
Here's my thing. I need more information.
Okay.
I don't know what source is this $25K coming from. Like, is it a grant? Is it a tax credit? Like, what shape is this $25K? Because
it actually talks about that in the next sentence.
Okay, cool. Glad it's in there. Let's continue then. To address the housing shortage and bring down prices for renters and homeowners alike, the Harris campaign's plan calls for a historic expansion of the low-income housing tax credit, also known as LIHTC, and the first ever tax incentive for home builders who build starter homes to build sold to first-time home buyers. Let me repeat that because I kind of flubbed that up.
If you build,
calls for a historic expansion of the low-income housing tax credit and the first ever tax incentive for home builders who build starter homes that are sold to first-time home buyers. Building upon the Biden-Harris administration's proposed $20 billion innovation fund, the campaign proposes a $40 billion fund that would support local innovations in housing supply solutions, catalyze innovative methods of construction financing, and empower developers and home builders to design and build affordable homes. To cut red tape and bring down housing costs, the plan calls for streamlining permitting processes. It seems very similar to Trump.
Yeah.
And reviews, including for transit-oriented development and conversions. The agenda also proposes making certain federal land eligible to be repurposed for affordable housing developments.
Similar to Trump.
But I feel like that's different, though, because Trump wants to get rid of like low-income housing or like affordable housing, if I'm not mistaken. Double check me on that. Go back and read that, and I'll finish this.
Okay.
Collectively, these policy proposals seek to create 3 million homes over the next 4 years. The sources that we used are NPR and Yahoo Finance. That's where we pulled this data from, which we don't care how
you guys might think it's.
You may think it's leaning one way or another. I don't care. That's just
we did take out a lot of opinions though.
Yeah, it wasn't so much the commentary about it so much as what are the policies. Yeah. So both candidates want to increase supply, which will drive prices down. And then basically allowing builders to increase the supply, which brings prices down. We've already seen that in Austin. A lot of the inventory right now is from new builds. A lot of inventory that's competing with your resold home is new construction in the Austin area, which is driving prices down. If you have house A and house B, both in the same city, one's brand new with incentives and one's resold, which one looks more appealing? To me, it's the new construction house.
Yeah. And I'm wondering what that will look like on the back end, because they are going to be rewarding builders with a tax credit, right? But here's the thing. What if those builders don't pass on the benefit to the buyer? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there will be regulation within that to make sure that it is passed on to the buyer.
Real quick, I just want to notate, we were talking about, I said Trump's against low-income housing. So all this says is that he wants to open up federal land for housing, not for low income housing. Whereas Kamala, it sounds like she wants it for lower income housing.
Okay. Interesting.
The agenda proposed to make certain federal lands eligible and repurposed for affordable housing development. So that's a difference. They both want to use federal land. All Trump says, or at least according to these articles, is for housing of some sort. But for Kamala, it says we want to open up federal land for affordable housing.
Okay.
There could be a difference there.
Yeah. I think that there might be a little bit more. Oh man, I actually don't want to give my opinion because then people will get pissed off, unfortunately.
Do it.
No, I mean,
do it, you coward. We're live on air. Say it with your chest.
Right. I think
we're all about open discussion here, man.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about it.
There's going to be more inventory with Kamala's plan. Obviously, 3 million new homes, $20 billion towards, what is it? $20 billion towards innovation fund, and a $40 billion fund that would support local innovations and housing supply solutions.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
$40 billion.
Where's that money coming from?
That's my big thing. I just want to know how things are getting paid for. Because the more, if it's the money printer machine that we've been using, which caused inflation to get out of whack for a while, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But if it's through, I don't know, tax incentives or reprioritizing spending from somewhere else, like existing money, I could maybe get behind that. Again, I want to know what I'm giving up for that.
Yeah. I would just love to have, this is my opinion, I would love to have more control over where my money's going.
Yeah. I think I talked about this literally in like probably within the last 10 to 15 episodes about, I wish there was a system where if I'm going to pay tax, I want to dictate what my tax money goes to. So you're letting the American people have a voice in what they support in that way, as opposed to whoever gets majority in House and Senate and presidency, they dictate where all the tax money goes. I would rather it be let the individual person maybe make an election on their tax report that says, yeah, my 15% taxes that I'm paying this year, I want it to be distributed between X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And then it's funded. And that's truly letting the people vote with their dollars. It's instead of, like, if I think I said it where if you don't want to support the military industrial complex, then maybe your money doesn't go to that. Maybe it goes to education systems and public transportation or whatever it is, whatever you're passionate about. And there's going to be people who want to support the military, but let the people decide on I don't know why we can't do that. Yeah. I don't know why. Why is it all just, it goes up and then they get to play with the money?
Well, maybe it's because, and this is my opinion, that the politicians are being able to play with the money in order to pocket the money themselves.
To make it work for things.
In a roundabout way, right? Because like these guys are making $200,000 a year and they're worth.
And they're leaving with
hundreds
millions
of
millions.
There's got to be something going on.
Yeah. There was a really funny thing, like a meme going around that said, if you ever want to become rich, just follow Nancy Pelosi's whatever she buys. So like Nvidia, I want to say, was a stock that she has a track record of investing in and then passing policy that affects that. Yeah. Again, this is a super, like, I'm not a political person. I don't have time to keep up with all this.
Well, that is facts. That is a fact.
So if that is true, that she is implementing policy or approving policy and getting, that party is doing that and she's writing, that's wrong. That's corrupt. Like, how does it make sense?
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
People have, I've listened to a lot of podcasts. I think like Lex Friedman is a really good one. Obviously, like the biggest one is Joe Rogan that a lot of people listen to, and I'll dabble in all of them. And I think a common theme of how we fix, again, this has nothing to do with housing. I know we just got on a sidebar here, but I think the way that you fix politics is you get money out of politics. That's it. You can't do insider trading where, like, didn't Martha Stewart go to prison for, like,
she went to prison.
Loose, like not as severe stuff as what is happening in our own government. Kind of makes you think. But I digress.
Yeah. I mean, we don't need more inventory in Austin. I'll say that.
Hey, 3 million homes being built. Y'all send that stuff somewhere else. We're good.
We're good.
We're good in Austin. All right.
We don't need more houses.
Kamala, hey, I'll tweet her and say, hey, we're good over here. Like Central Texas, we're chilling.
Yeah.
You send that stuff somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because we don't need it right now.
So those are the facts based off of the research we found online.
I need you to take 3 million homes away from Texas.
Yeah.
Come seize up our... No, I'm just kidding.
Well, the funny thing is we know that there are other markets that need houses
Yeah.
still.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, there's a parody here where people who are listening are going, I can't relate to Austin's market because we're still in this extreme sellers market where I put up a sign, boom, it's sold 50 to 100K over asking price in 2 days. I look like a rock star. Man, I remember those days. And I tell you, this inventory will change your mind.
Right.
Yeah. It'll change your opinion real quick.
Yeah. But we're just trying to stay committed to our daily tasks, daily habits, and just doing the things that we need to do in order to get the results. But we're not outcome driven. We're process driven, right?
That's right.
Because if we're constantly thinking about the outcome, we're just going to be disappointed.
It's done us good so far.
Yeah.
So sticking with what works and consistency. Anything you do will be successful as long as you're consistent.
100%. You want to go ahead and wrap this up?
Guys, thank you so much for listening. I mentioned it earlier. Free, easy way that takes probably 10 to 15, 20 seconds max from your day to support the podcast. Give us that 5-star review. Share it with a friend who's another realtor, someone interested in the real estate space. And we love hearing from you too. If you want to share some feedback, maybe some ideas that you want to hear us discuss on the next episodes, please feel free to reach out to us. I am at Jordan Sells ATX on Instagram. We also have a Real Estate Virgins. It's at Real Estate Virgins Podcast on Instagram. John, where can people find you at?
At John Michael Perez.
Beautiful. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will catch y'all later.